Sunday night, Tampa Bay and Dallas. This was a game that opened the season last year, which was a fun game. And these are also teams that should be near the top of the NFC. Maybe one a little more than the other as they fall apart. But these are two teams that are kind of, dealing with some injury issues that, especially on offense, that might, shake up what they could potentially be at full strength. Obviously kind of have to talk about the offensive line with Tom Brady, right? Is that something that's going to impact him? Because obviously he gets the ball out quickly, still throwing the ball deep. Last year, Brady had the most deep throws in the league, had the 5th fastest time to throw. That was still around like 3 seconds, which is, a decent amount of time. It's fast for a deep throw, right? But still, in terms of allowing pressure, that opens it up a little bit. And he's 29.7% of his deep throws were within 2.5 seconds. That was the 6th highest. So he can get the ball out quickly there. So that might not completely derail. And Tom Brady getting the ball out quickly does help an offensive line a lot, right? And there's still a production on those deep throws. It's not in a Ben Roethlisberger way where you're getting the ball out quickly and there's nothing happening afterward. He's just getting the ball out quick to get the ball out quick. That's not what Brady has been doing. But do little cracks there, does that shift just a little bit? And I think that could be the potential concern, especially when you're looking at a receiving core that's not at full strength. We don't know what Chris Godwin is right now. You have Julio Jones, but I think we kind of haven't seen Julio Jones in the way that that name carries, for a little bit. And then, you have Mike Evans, who's, going to be Mike Evans and he's going to do the Mike Evans things. But then I think just we're not totally sure what this full strength offense is going to look like, because it's not at full strength. So I think that's going to be, something that could, potentially have some hiccups, at least early in the season.
I mean, especially when you go back and you look at how the Bucs won this game last year. I mean, look at all the major contributors. Look what Antonio Brown did in that game. He's not on the team anymore. Look at what Chris Godwin did in that game. He potentially may not play in this game. Look at what Rob Gronkowski did in that game. He's not on the team anymore. So those are the box score stuffers in this week 1 game last year. None of those guys are on the team, and seemingly none of their roles have really been kind of counteracted either. Wide receiver being the closest one, because you still do have talent on the roster. They add a guy like Russell Gage, who's gotten better every year of his career. He's dealt with a hamstring. Looks like he's going to be able to play. And you've got Julio at least at his freshest point, right? We haven't done the Julio hamstring thing yet. And Julio was really a lot better, I think, than people give him credit for, caught in that quagmire of that offense. Also, I feel like we've seen a little bit of this with Treylon Burks this preseason. Vrabel seems to really be irritated by guys that don't practice and do something. And Julio's never been that guy in his career. And I think you saw a lot of Vrabel being irritated by Julio's kind of the process of getting Julio ready to play on a weekly basis. And we've seen with Treylon Burks again this preseason. I think he's not going to have that kind of issues with the Bucs. He knows what his role is with the Bucs. And I think actually Julio's going to be kind of an important cog here earlier in the season, but we'll see how that is to be true. I think when you just look at it from a top-down stance, though, this is going to be a lot what you said. It's going to be a lot of just getting the ball out, I think, a little bit quicker, a little bit more in the intermediate level, the shallow area. Let these guys try to do some things. Remember, they had Rachaad White, too. I'm very curious to see what his role is going to be, especially early in the season, if he can even crack the field, because he was an elite pass catcher in college. So I'm curious to see if he has any role at all to kind of circumvent some of this stuff and kind of play into getting the ball out. But I still feel like they're still strong. There's still a lot of talent on the Bucs. The Cowboys, I'm not so sure. You got Ceedee Lamb, and you've got Ezekiel Elliott, and you've got Tony Pollard. But they're trying to fill Cedric Wilson, Amari Cooper with guys like Noah Brown and Jalen Tolbert, who just could not really do anything in the preseason. It's just preseason. He's going to be thrown into a role here. We're counting on Dalton Schultz now in a role where Dalton Schultz now has to be a lifter. Or Dalton Schultz is fine when all those receivers are running around. The defense is accounting for those guys.
Right.
Now that Dalton Schultz is your number 2 pass catcher, is he going to be able to carry as much water as he did, right? And then this offensive line, the Cowboys offensive line, we might have Tyler Smith playing left tackle in his first career game against a Todd Bowles defense. like look out below. Like you're going to get stuff thrown at you every single snap. I mean, when these teams played a year ago, they blitzed almost 55% of the time on Dak Prescott. And you have no Lyle Collins. Terrence Steele did not play in that game. The Cowboys are a big concern to me because I still feel like there's like a void in terms of talent, where the Bucs, I still look and I'm like, they've got talented players here still too. The Cowboys are going to have to raise some of the talent that they've got.